There's an adventure inside all of us. Some of us live for that adventure. Others let it take them someplace new. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino.
So it should be back up. All right. Thank you, Jackie Dixon, telling me there is no sound. All right. So let's start back. Hey, good morning to you all. How's it going? All right. Good morning to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger, and let's get started and start off the show with our Redding Divine Sky Cam. You may notice some of the haze that we are still seeing out there this morning. Doesn't look like that haze is quite as bad as it was yesterday. We can see a little bit more of Mount Shasta off in the distance, but I do still expect to see some haze here throughout the morning and even going into the afternoon hours. All right, visibility across the board. There you can see we are looking at 1 to 2 mile visibility that we do have along the coast here, but obviously much better visibility elsewhere with, of course, that haze. Taking a look at Crescent City, Harbor District, we do have the overcast skies out there, low clouds, the fog that we have out there right now. And I do expect that some areas along the coast may have a difficult time clearing out here throughout the afternoon. All right, let's take a look at our picture of the day. This is a shot of some virga, which is rain that evaporates before it reaches the ground in Mount Shasta. This was actually taken about a month ago. I want to thank Heather for sending in this photo, and she used the free Weather NorCal app to share this photo. You can do the same. Just where you can, of course, just go to the Weather NorCal app, and from the app, from your phone, you can send your photos, and you just might see it right here on Coffee with Krueger. All right, let's get you right into your Krueger's Quick Cast. It is your Thursday, August 6th. Now, temperatures right now are in the mid to upper 60s, even some low 70s for the valley. We've got 50s for most of the higher elevations, although some areas in the low 60s, mid 50s right now for you along the coast. Now, the coast, you are seeing the most of cloudy skies this morning. As mentioned, we may see a little bit of clearing as we go through the morning and afternoon for the coast, but I think there are going to be some areas that may have a hard time clearing out entirely here throughout the day, and temperatures are starting to warm up again. In fact, there is a heat advisory for most of the mountains of Northern California, and that's just a indication of the heat that we're going to be experiencing here over the next several days. Now, another thing I'm monitoring and watching closely is the monsoonal moisture over Southern California. That's going to be working its way northward over the next couple of days and could bring some thunderstorms for parts of the Sierra, but at this point looks like mainly south of Tahoe. In the meantime, we take a look at Futurecast, and yeah, you can clearly see that fog is having a hard time clearing off for some of you along the coast. If you have a swamp cooler to help keep you cooler and you are happy with the temperature that it pumped out yesterday, then I think you should be happy with the temperature for today, because it's going to be about the same. Temperature just a tad warmer, humidity down to about 12%. 77 to 78 degrees is what I'm expecting here for your swamp cooler to output. All right, so again, taking a look at the temperatures, much like that of yesterday. There may be a few spots down to the south end of the valley that may stay in the upper 90s, but for the most part over 100 degrees. 90s, triple digits in the higher elevations, and mid to upper 60s for the coast. All right, so here's what we have in store for us tonight. Upper 60s, maybe around 70 for the valley, 50s and even some 60s for the higher elevations, and low to mid 50s for the coast. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day outlook. Yeah, it's hot, folks. We're talking 107 to 108 for Redding on Friday and Saturday. Now, I was expecting that by around Tuesday of next week, we'd drop below 100 degrees across the board. That may be hard for Redding. But keep in mind, the normal high, the average high this time of the year is about 100 degrees. So we will be around average pretty much through next week. And you can see Red Bluff, Chico, most likely just dropping below 100 degrees by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But Redding may have a harder time with that. Mid to upper 60s for the coast. Inland, over 100 degrees through Saturday, upper 90s Sunday, Monday, mid 90s Tuesday, Wednesday. For Trinity County, 100 degrees or higher through Monday, upper 90s by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. For Siskiyou County, you see temperatures, really, it's across the board, right? For the valley, for the inland areas, for the mountains, for the valley, all seeing those temperatures dropping as we go into next week. Here's your fire weather outlook. Another quick look at where all the fires are. Anderson Fire, by the way, is to the south, just south of Trinity County. They got a handle on the fire for the most part, but it is producing some smoke, and that may produce this, actually may contribute, that is, to some of the haze and smoke that we will see. Now, really, I don't expect any big plumes of smoke. There may be areas around Plumas and Lassen counties this morning through midday that may see a little bit of smoke, maybe even smell that faint smell of smoke off in the distance. But otherwise, I really just expect to see mainly hazy skies out there for most of Northern California. That's indicated by the kind of those grayish, milkish colors that you do see on your screen. Now, again, notice that plume of smoke that's just beginning to enter western Tehama County, but that's really the extent of it, mainly just some of that haze. Also, there is a red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight for western Siskiyou County, hot, dry, and a bit breezy at times, especially this afternoon. All right, taking a look at the fire weather outlook. It is elevated coming in from the National Weather Service, and you can see basically to the north and east. However, I do expect that the fire weather outlook is looking elevated, elevated fire weather risk, and even high fire weather risk, which we'll get into here in a second. Want to illustrate that the winds will be a little breezy at times. Nothing unusual. There may be some gusty winds, especially going into your Saturday and possibly into Sunday, as you can see here for the north end of the valley, parts of the eastern mountains and central Siskiyou County as well. That'll be the case again on Sunday. So colors on your map, that's the fire weather risk. Yellows and oranges, typical. Elevated fire weather risk. The numbers on your map, that's the relative humidity numbers. Very low, as you can see, single digits and in the low teens for even the mountains. Now, as we go into Saturday, look what's happening, especially for the valley. Look at the west side of the valley. See those reds? That's getting in the high to very high category. So we need to use extra caution. Already need to use caution, right? But extra caution as we go into the weekend, because we're getting into that high and very high category when it comes to the fire weather risk. By the way, any current fires, If there's a new fire that starts, if there's any evacuation warnings or orders in the area, if you want to know where there are red flag warnings, if you want to know the fire weather data, anything fire related, if you want to know about it, I put together some great bookmarks for you. Just go to weathernorcal.com, click on fire danger, and I got a bunch of links that can take you to all kinds of information about the fires. Taking a look at Reading, it's just a big blob of gray. No, it just took a little while for the image to update, but there you can see our divine sky cam. And again, I am, as we compare it to yesterday, we are certainly seeing a better outline of Mount Shasta off in the distance. What that tells me is that we're seeing less haze this morning for parts of the valley. You can also see less in the way of that orange glow this morning from our Shasta Lake Sky Cam. This is, of course, looking at Jones Valley Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch, as well as Lake Shastina Golf Resort. You can see a little bit of that haze just kind of hovering at the base of the mountain there. And that's some of the haze and some of the light smoke that you are seeing around Siskiyou County. This is a look at Soda Ridge. Now, this is looking northward. So as you head into Oregon, that's where they're seeing more smoke and more haze there. Some of that trying to migrate here into Northern California. Lassen Volcanic National Park, I don't see much in the way of haze there, although there may be a little bit. There you can see Highway 99 at Neal Road. We've got the clear skies there this morning. Crescent City Harbor District, not so clear. A bit overcast, that marine layer kind of holding on strong this morning. And taking a look at Bald Hill West, there you can see, looks like we've got the clear skies there this morning. And this is a look at Jones Valley. Excuse me, Jones Valley. Scott Valley. This is Fort Jones. Fort Jones, Jones Valley, Scott Valley. This is in Siskiyou County. And yeah, we've got someone checking in for the first time in a while. It says, good morning, Mike. It's been a while for me. How you been? I've been great, Bill. I hope you're doing okay as well. It's been great. I've been in Mexico, actually. This is my third week that I've been here, but this weekend we will be driving back home and I'll be back in the North State. Back to normal for me as we kind of wrap up this little vacation. This has kind of become my home away from home here in Baja, Mexico. My mom has a house out on the beach, and we can come here frequently. And I've got this great setup where I can set up a nice studio here at the house, and it's a great spot. Great internet, the works. So there you go. There you go. By the way, I apologize. There's, for some reason, see at the bottom of the screen, it's the taskbar. For some reason, it just showed up today. And as you know, technology, sometimes you're like, well, how do I get rid of that? I'm sure there's a way. I spent a couple of minutes trying to figure out how to get rid of it. Couldn't figure it out. So I'm going to have to probably Google it a little bit later. If there's anybody who knows how to get rid of it, let me know. Tell me if there's a little function key I need to do. I don't know. I right-clicked and I went into taskbar settings in the works, but it's not working. So again, I apologize for, oh, what? I don't even know what I did, but it's gone now. So, all right, fine. Okay, great, it's gone. So I don't have to apologize for it anymore. Again, there's a look at Scott Valley that we are seeing there and turning out to be a gorgeous shot this morning. And we take a look at our photo of the day. This is coming in from Heather. I want to thank Heather. This was actually about a month ago when we did actually have a little bit of rain in the area. There's some virga. That's rain that evaporates before it reaches the ground. See the streaks coming from the clouds, but it's not making it to the ground? That's called virga. It's rain that evaporates before reaching the ground. You see the overcast skies and Mount Shasta off in the distance. If you want to be like Heather and see your photo right here on Coffee with Krueger, you can do it very easily. If you got a phone, most people do, you can share it from the free Weather NorCal app. So be sure to do that today. I want to thank our sponsor and primary sponsor for Coffee with Krueger, and that would be Wind River Resort and Casino.
It's time to kick back, forget about your trouble, and have a good time. Wind River Resort and Casino is proud to welcome Uncle Krueger back to the Event Center stage Friday, August 14th. Drift away with his signature laid-back blend of country, pop, and rock, spiked with a splash of hip-hop. Tickets for this feel-good summertime show start at just $25 plus fees. Smile as you enjoy over 2 decades of multi-platinum top charters. Reserve tickets today at windriver.com. Your adventure begins here. Wind River Resort and Casino.
Once again, I want to thank Wind River Resort and Casino for their support. Let's get into your Krueger's Quick Cast. Actually, we actually just did the Quick Cast in the fire update. Here is a look at your deep dive forecast. All right, let's take a look at those weather headlines. Valley highs. Well, they're going to spike tomorrow and Saturday. Saturday being the peak, around 108 degrees. Temperatures start to kind of drop after that. Now, originally, we were expecting these temperatures to drop below 100 degrees by around Tuesday of next week across the board in the valley. Now, it looks like it's going to take a little bit longer than that. In fact, Reading may have a hard time dropping below 100 degrees here through most of next week. But that all being said, I don't expect any record-breaking heat. The heat that we're seeing, typical summer heat wave. Really, nothing unusual about it. Not breaking any records. And we're going to be probably closer to normal by next week. But with all of that being said, hot, dry, a little windy at times, elevated fire weather risk. There's the heat alerts, heat advisories for the higher elevations. And there you can see the temperatures out there right now. 69 for Reading, 66 degrees for Oroville. Looks like Chico a bit warmer at about 73 and 54 in Eureka. So low pressure up to our north and west. That's not going to really have much impact on us, at least for now. A high pressure over the desert southwest. It's beginning to build and expand, and that's why temperatures will be a bit warmer. But I also want you to take note. Look at the clouds. Look at the clouds over Southern California and into Baja, Mexico, where I am. I've noticed those clouds. That's monsoonal moisture, my friends. That's the area of a high pressure, and the flow around that high pressure is bringing in that monsoonal moisture. Now, take a look at the spine of the Sierra over Central California, Southern California. Mainly south of Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. We could see some thunderstorms popping up as we go later in this week and even into the weekend. It then dries out again, but then towards the middle and latter part of next week, we could see another round of that monsoonal moisture working in. Now, it looks like it could work its way north of Lake Tahoe for next week, which would mean at this point, maybe the possibility for some thunderstorms in parts of, say, Plumas, Lassen, maybe even as far north as Modoc County. At this point, I'm not counting on it, but that monsoonal moisture may start having a bit of an impact again in the next week or so. So there's the dome of high pressure to our east. It's building, expanding, getting larger and stronger for tomorrow and Saturday. That's why temperatures will be much warmer. But notice off to the west, we're begin to see a bit of a flattening of the ridge of high pressure, becoming more of an elongated ridge of high pressure. The cooler air to the north will eventually start to impact us. So what's happening is we're starting to see a trough of low pressure. So you see the two areas of hot, or the heat, or domes of high pressure. Those are being separated. That elongated ridge is being separated by a little bit of troughing coming in early next week. Now, what do I mean by that? You see that little dip in the jet stream between the two areas of heat? That is a trough of low pressure. It's digging even more and more to the south as we go through next week. Now, that's significant because, number one, it's going to keep the biggest areas of heat off to our west and to the east. And we're going to be looking at more of that moderated heat, more in the way of warm temperatures instead of hot temperatures, at least for us. So again, that trough is going to be the dominant feature through a good portion of next week and even going into that next weekend. So looking at your 10-day trend, this is what's going to kind of really paint that picture for you. We see the spike Friday and Saturday, 107 to 108. 108 being the hottest on Saturday. Then temperatures start to drop after that. We're down to average for this time of the year. The average in Reading is 100 degrees. We're going to be around that come really Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and eventually dropping just below the average, especially by the end of next week and into that next weekend. All right, let's take a look at your lake levels. Sure, I mean, we're seeing it drop. The capacity for all of these lakes is dropping with 65% capacity for Shasta Lake. But when you look at the historical average and where we should be with our lake levels, we're doing okay. We can't complain too much about where the lakes are right now. The wave heights are fairly low today, but we're going to start to see them increase a little bit here as we go to the next 24 hours. No small crash advisories as of yet, but that is something worth watching. Winds from the northwest today at about 5 knots. And there you can see your high and your low tide, patchy morning fog, and even some of that morning smoke. So here's your neighborhood forecast sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. It's hot pretty much across the board with the exception of the coast, obviously. Trinity County, triple digits there. North Coast, at least along the coast, you're talking temperatures mid to upper 60s. Inland, triple digits through Saturday, dropping below 100 degrees by Sunday and staying that way into early next week. Siskiyou County, mid to upper 90s, even over 100 degrees. Out towards Weed, about 96, 95 for Mount Shasta City. But out towards, say, Etna, a high of 101 degrees. Modoc County, mid to upper 90s there. All right, if some of you touch 100 degrees, like, say, Eagleville or Fort Bidwell, not out of the question. Maybe even El Turris. For now, you've got mid to upper 90s for your daytime highs. Eastern Mountains, places like Susanville, Doyle, Quincy, all could see about 100 degrees and slightly higher. For the valley, look at this. Some areas may dodge the triple digits once again. Corning, 99, 97 degrees for Willows, but Chico, the high of 100, and even warmer for Chico by Friday, Saturday, about 105. But then temperatures dropping below 100 degrees by Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. 105 for Redding, 103 in Red Bluff, and 105 out in Palo Cedro. And there's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. Temperatures up to 108 degrees. We're approaching 110, which, by the way, all last summer, the Redding airport never touched 100. So far this year, never touched 110. Wouldn't that be nice? 100. No. All last year, Redding airport never touched 110 degrees. Got close, but didn't. 109. This year, we haven't reached 110 degrees yet either. Could we break that stretch? Could we break that stretch on Saturday? At this point, I don't think so, but we'll see. And then temperatures start to drop as we go into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, with temperatures just a little over 100 degrees, which again is around average for this time of the year. We've got Charlie Swim. He is saying, "Good morning, Mr. Mike," with a cool little font going on in there. Thank you, Charlie, for saying good morning and saying hello. Thank you, and good morning to you. And we are going to take a look at, I'm going to kind of get it all set up and ready to go here. Let's see what we got here. We always like to take a look at what our national holidays are for the day. It's always fun. Ooh, this is a fun one. So my dad, who passed several years ago, but my dad, one of his things was root beer floats. And I do remember visiting him years and years ago with my son Aiden. Aiden was probably about, 5 years old or so. I went to go visit him, and that was the thing that my dad liked to do with him, is make root beer floats. So my son particularly loves root beer floats, so I'll have to remind him. He's back in Redding today while I'm still here in Mexico, so I'll have to remind him to maybe go have a root beer float, not only to celebrate it as a national day, but to celebrate his grandfather as well. National IPA Day. Now, I probably won't encourage him to celebrate IPA Day because he's only 17 years old. National Wiggle Your Toes Day. You know, when I do that, if I do it too much, I start getting cramps in my feet. I guess just a sign of age. National Fresh Breath Day. Well, I don't have it right now. I've got coffee breath, so maybe I'll have to just brush my teeth after that to help celebrate that. National Social Engineering Day. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I think the one I'm most excited about is National Root Beer Float Day. That might be hard to get one of those here in Mexico, so maybe I'd have to go get some root beer, some vanilla ice cream. We'll see. But I'm going to have to remind my son that today is National Root Beer Float Day to celebrate his grandfather. All right, anybody, if you like root beer floats? I always loved them. I remember as a child going on long trips with my dad, and we would stop. They're like Sonics, right? But the A&W root beer, the A&W places, you get a burger, and they were drive up. So people came out on the roller skates, and yeah, that was the one thing my dad always got us. He'd get us a root beer float after having dinner or lunch or whatever we had at A&W. So I don't even know if they still have that chain. It seems like Sonic kind of took over that tradition with that type of restaurant, but that was always a fun memory of mine. All right, once again, I'm here in Baja, Mexico. I've been enjoying this cooler weather during this longer heat wave than we've experienced so far this summer, but this is, here we go. This is a heat wave that probably won't last much longer. I do think it'll last through the rest of this week, this weekend, and temperatures right around normal as we go through next week. So get ready for that. Get ready for some more of that heat. And by the way, of course, we've been talking about it. We've been talking about the heat. We've been talking about the fire weather risk as well. So I want you to be extremely careful when we're talking about that fire weather risk, because, this is one thing I like to illustrate. A lot of times I talk about the winds, right? Well, the winds aren't necessarily the biggest concern as we go in through the rest of the week and even into this upcoming weekend. You know what's the bigger concern is the fact that it's hot, it's dry, and we've got a lot of fuels out there. So you don't necessarily need winds, strong winds, for us to see those fires spread rapidly. If you've got plenty of fuels, which we do, it's hot and very dry, the combination of all three of those things alone can cause a fire to spread rapidly. With all the plentiful fuels, it just kind of just ignites one after another. It's like taking a match, right? And several matches and just putting all the tips together. It just kind of chain reaction. Same situation with the dry fuels. Now, add wind into that equation, and now it's even worse. Now, the winds will be a little gusty at times, but bottom line, this is that time of the year. We always need to be careful. We always need to kind of keep our guards up, right? But when we start seeing extreme conditions like we're experiencing now, we need to use extra caution because we're going to be looking at high to even very high fire weather risk for parts of the valley because of the heat. And even the winds are picking up here as we go into parts of the weekend as well. Well, we got Jeff Johnson. He's checking in this morning, and he is saying, good morning. Good morning to you as well, Jeff. And we're going to leave it at that and get ready to call it a day, or at least call it a morning for me. I'll be back again tomorrow morning for your Friday edition, my last Friday here in Baja. By next Monday, when you're watching me on Coffee with Krueger, you'll see me back at home. So, I've really enjoyed my time here, but I'm also excited to get back home, be back with everybody, and kind of get back into business as usual. All right, so I'll be back home soon. I'll be freshly shaven as well. But I'll still be here again tomorrow morning here in Baja, Mexico, giving you the latest report on the heat, big time heat that's coming our way for Friday and Saturday. All right, you have yourselves a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Bye.